Good morning, good afternoon, and or good evening, wherever you're receiving this audio. Welcome back to yet another episode of the Busted Coverage Podcast, right here on YouTube as well as on Spotify. I am your host, Nicholas Persampieri, joined always by my partners in crime, Matt Baywood and Cam Griffin. Before we get started, we just want to thank you guys once again for tuning in to the show. Make sure you guys leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We'd love to hear from you guys. Ask us some questions, give us some pointers, feedback, whatever it is. Leave a comment. We'd love to engage with you guys. And also follow us on Spotify too. Once again, if you're ever bored at work, if you're ever stuck in 5 o'clock traffic, hey, it's summertime. More cars are out on the road. That means you're going to be stuck in traffic. Put us on. I think you'll enjoy the content we provide. We talk about all kinds of different things. And that means I now get to go over today's topics because I'm moderating today. So, we got a few different things to talk about today. We're going to start with, we talk about the good things in sports, but we need to highlight the bad things in sports too. So we're going to go over some of the bad teams in sports history. We're also going to talk about some curses and or droughts in sports. Are curses real? Is it all a bunch of hibbity hoopla? We'll go over that. We're going to go over when players get injured. Should teams have a little bit more flexibility with their salaries than they do now? We're also going to go over the UFC 316 card that took place last night. Briefly, discuss how we feel about combat sports compared to the Big Four. We're also going to have another discussion about NIL money, whether that should be done in season or during the recruiting process. And then similar to what we did last week, we're going to have some rapid fire questions. I have a trivia question this time. Hate to steal Cam's thunder for today, but I do have a pretty good one. And then obviously we'll have our segments with my rant, Cam's jam of the week, and Mr. Baywood would close out with helping us make more money. He also has a major announcement that he has been holding on to, so we don't even know yet. So this is all going to be live, breaking news at the end. So tune in to the end, and you'll hear about that. With that said, I'm going to pass it to myself here. And
self-pass.
We're going to go right into our first topic. We're going to talk about some of the worst teams in sports history. The reason I wanted to talk about this is, don't know how many of you guys are watching baseball. We're getting closer and closer to the All-Star break, halfway through the season. Some teams are doing really well. The Dodgers, the Yankees, even the Cubbies, doing pretty well. The Tigers. And there's one team in particular that's doing really bad, and that would be the Colorado Rockies, who as of today are 12-53. Yes, you heard that correct. 12-53. On pace for one of the worst records, if not the worst record in the history of baseball. So it kind of wanted to open forum here. Obviously, we've seen some really, really bad teams throughout our lifetimes, whether it's professionally, college. We've seen rebuilds take longer than building a building. So I'm going to start with Cam, talking about some bad teams that he's seen, any teams that he may follow that may or may not have been poopy for a season or two. Or if anything he's seen that stand out that made a really negative impression on him. So, Cam, why don't you start off, man?
Yeah. That's a good question. I think in terms of teams I've seen a lot of teams. I think when you're a fan of any team, the worst thing you could possibly hear, the words you don't want to hear is rebuild.
Yeah.
Because that can go in so many different directions. Your first thought is, okay, well, we're going to suck for a while people get acclimated, while our draft picks get used to playing at the high level of whatever sport, you like, or we make trades while the people we traded for get used to playing with new people, new coaches, new cities, and as a fan, you're the constant. You're there, you're watching, and it could go from really good to really bad really quickly. One of the worst, again, I'm a huge NBA fan, so for me, Perfect example would be the Charlotte Bobcats from 2011. That team was... I had to double check and look a few times at this to make sure I read this correctly. They only won... Well, it looked like it was a shorter year, but they won 7 games. That's crazy. Now, I'm going to go on a limb and say they had Kemba Walker as a rookie, so you could see the future was bright. It was coming. So that's part of the rebuild process where you're like, wow, we suck. You get the rookie. You still go through the bad year because they're getting acclimated. Not their fault. And then there's a slight uptick afterwards. So a few years later, they made the playoffs. But to me, I think that would probably be one of the worst teams I saw. It says they ended at 7-59, so I'm assuming that was the shortened season year. Can't remember off the top of my head.
I think it was either...
Was that the lockout?
I think it was a lockout year,
yeah. So this league season started late. You had a rookie point guard, and actually you had some other young teams. And I was looking at the roster. Kind of funny to look back at that roster and say all those pieces don't go together. But again, when you're going through a rebuild, that's the risk you take. You make trades to clear cap space, so you may have players that would never be on your team and in situation there just so you can have the clear cap space who you plan on moving or cutting. And it was just a bad season. Not sure how they even won 7 games, if we're going to be honest, but I guess law of averages, you're bound to win one no matter what. My freshman year football team, 0-10, just saying, for the season.
Oh, man.
That's probably a bad one. Not professional, but it's out there.
I got a funny story for you.
Shout out Lee Fredericks. You were a quarterback, I believe. But, no, tongue in cheek, but, I think that's probably it. The worst words you can hear as a fan are rebuild. So the Charlotte Bobcats, and unfortunately, if it doesn't pan out, then you got to hit the reset button again. So kudos to the people in Charlotte. They've been hitting reset the last 13 years, it feels like. And they're still hitting the reset button. So, yeah, that's probably the worst one I have with 2011, 2012. But to be honest, they haven't done much better since. So me.
They've done so well, in fact.
And they've had
the Hornets again.
Yeah. They had to change their name. Went back to the Hornets.
That's part of the rebuild.
And they still ain't there. Well, I mean, if you want to talk about it, the Bobcats were so bad they took the name away. But that's the scenario. That's part of the game. No one's going to be great. A lot of teams have had losing seasons, awful losing seasons. Maybe not as much, but the ones that you remember. And I think I looked at a list. This one was number 3 on the list. And I was alive for this one. So, to me, this was one of the worst ones I've ever seen.
All right, I'm gonna pass it over to Mr. Matt Baywood. Got a nice little tan going on today.
Yeah, I got some color today.
Got some color.
The Cleveland Browns are probably the worst team the worst franchise in all of sports. They came into the league in 1999. I know they were previously there, and they sold to Baltimore. That was like pre-1996.
Yes.
So, we're going to leave that part out of the equation, even though they weren't that great then either. However, from 1999 to last season in 2024, they have 1, 2, 3, 4 seasons with a winning record. In 1999, they went 2-14. In 2000, they went 3-13. 2001, 7-9. 2002, 9-7. 2003, they dipped back off to 5-11. 2004, 4-12. 2005, 6-10. 2006, 4-12. 2007, 10-6. 2008, 4-12. 2009 and 2010, 5-11. 2011, 4-12. 2012, 5-11. 4-12, 7-9, 3-13, 1-15, 0-16, 7-8, 6-10. I'm gonna skip to last season, 3-14.
So what you're telling me is that there's a pattern.
There's a pattern, and they've had. Hold on, let me go through the separate list here. They've had one.
I actually remember that 2-year stretch where they won a combined 1 game. and because they had Hugh Jackson as their coach, who was a pretty good coordinator prior to. But, man, he's going to go down as arguably the worst head coach in the history of the league.
They've had 12 head coaches.
Since 99.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So, that kind of performance, we can get into it later with maybe that franchise is just cursed since the sale. But it doesn't seem like... And it's not like they've had bum players all those years.
No.
I mean, yeah, they took the flyer on Deshaun Watson that kind of bankrupted their franchise. But, I mean, they've had... Johnny Manziel, who did pretty well for them. They've had Baker Mayfield, who's doing really well for the Bucs. They've had a slew of receivers, Odell Beckham, Amari Cooper. They got Myles Garrett on their defense. They, at one point, had the number one defense in the NFL, and they still couldn't win games. So, arguably, they're in the hardest division, too. So, for a long period of time, they were just guaranteed 6 losses. When it was Joe Flacco, Ben Roethlisberger, Carson Palmer, they were just guaranteed the 6 losses. They couldn't. I think they've had maybe 2 or 3 times as many quarterbacks as coaches too. They can't keep a quarterback. They can't pick a quarterback. So when you have that kind of performance and your average for like a 25 or 26 year span is less than 6 wins, that's not good. I don't know how else to put it, but they're them and the Lions together, but at least the Lions are showing huge upside now. They turned their franchise around big time.
That's a perfect example of being historically bad.
Yeah.
Literally, he just pulled 25, 26 years worth of bad, well, I guess it's good data. Well, it's bad data, right?
Great sample size, bad data.
Right. I have 2 particular examples. First, I'm actually going to... I know Cam mentioned his freshman year of football. I want to mention my sophomore year when I played football, junior varsity, because, I was a little bit above a scrub. So I played junior varsity football. We were 3-6-1. So we weren't horrible. But we lost a game 2-0. We lost to Brian McMahon 2-0. If you guys know, Brian McMahon's a private school in the Norwalk area of Connecticut. It was 2-0. And the funny part was, it was the only forced fumble I ever had in my life. I barely played any defense. Like, people were hurt. I forced a fumble somehow. I don't know. I hit the ball. We recovered it at our own 1-yard line, and 2 plays later, we gave up a safety. and then we lost.
So your forced fumble screwed?
Yeah, I cost us the game by making a good play.
I hate saying it, but even your 3-6-1 is still better than our 0-10 varsity team year. So, I can't even say
that is a funny story.
That's great.
Yeah.
You impacted winning just the wrong way.
Yeah. But anyway, figured I'd mention that. Yeah, we lost a football game 2-0.
That must have been an incredibly boring game to play in.
Believe it or not, it was actually a fun game to play in.
Really?
Yeah, well, until the end. But, good times, man. Good times.
Quick shout out to all the parents out there who have to watch their kids go through these very losing seasons, because
it's awful.
I've gone to my friends, her son plays baseball. I've gone to those games, and again, shout out to parents. I don't know how you sit through some of this, but kudos to you, because some of it is boring. Some of it is different, because you can see some of the kids are clearly better, and then some of the kids are just picking dandelions in the field. So, it's a little...
Sometimes that's in high school, too.
You can tell they're being forced to play. Quick shout out to the parents.
Facts. Shout out to the parents out there. Anyway, my 2 examples. As people already know, go Birds. I'm a big Philly fan. Philly and New York pretty much are my areas of support. Do you guys remember the movement known as Trust the Process?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Do you remember before that?
Yes.
With Michael Carter Williams?
Yep.
and how piss poor the 76ers were.
Oh my God! Didn't they have like under 10 wins?
Yeah.
I think they had 11 or 12 wins that whole season. But it was trust the process.
It was.
Trust the process. And 15 years later, we're still trying to trust that process with Joel Embiid.
They went 9-73.
Even, I tried saying they had 12 wins. That's even worse. Not the Charlotte Bobcats.
Wait a second.
Wait.
Golden State was 73-9, weren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, so just upside down. If you turned it 180 degrees,
Yeah.
best team ever. So
Cam might have been around for
was a
that
good
Philadelphia team. That was in 1972.
And do you
No,
guys...
Cam was not around for that Philadelphia team in 1972.
Do you guys remember when the Philadelphia Eagles were building the Dream Team? Okay, so this must have been 2013-ish.
That
It was the last year of Andy Reid as head coach of the Eagles. We signed Nnamdi Asomugha. We signed Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie.
I remember that signing.
We signed Vince Young to be the backup quarterback.
Yeah.
And Vince Young went on record during like an interview after like a mini camp practice and said that we had a dream team.
Yes, I remember that comment.
And we ended up going like, we started I think like 0-11 or some shit. Finished the year 4-12. We fired Andy Reid, brought in Chip Kelly. And then the dominoes fell because Reid went to Kansas City. A year later, they got Patrick Mahomes. We caused that. So not only did we suck, we caused everyone to hate the Chiefs.
Was that the year that the NFC East was literally the worst in history, or was that actually
that was down the road? That was
gotcha.
later. That was awful too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really, really bad. I think that might have been the COVID year, where everyone in the NFC East just
everyone
sucked.
had a negative record, right?
Yeah, I think Washington won the division that year at like 7-10, or something like that. It was really bad. But yeah, those are the two that I have. Aside from the Rockies now, who are hopefully going to put them all to shame. Hopefully they lose like 120 games this year.
Oh my God.
That would be fantastic to see. Just when you think you got it bad, guys, remember, there's actually a baseball team in Colorado.
I wonder what if you start playing the odds here and bet $1 every day
Every time
on
they
Colorado that they're going to win every day. How big the payout would be at the end of the season?
You would be destitute. They'll never win.
Yeah.
Honestly, I would bet them to lose every day until proven otherwise. That would be a safer bet in my opinion. But I know Matt mentioned segueing into curses and droughts. I want to just ask a quick question.
Okay.
And this is just a brief little, whatever you would prefer. Would you guys prefer to either A, play on a team that's awful, knowing maybe this ain't going to be the best year, but just play it out and whatever, part of a rebuild, or B, be on a good team that gets its heart broken and has to go through a drought?
To be fair, I'm going to answer this first, Cam.
Can you just clarify drought?
Say like you go X amount of years without winning the championship.
So you're good every year. You get your heart broken.
Yes.
Okay.
Funny enough, you kind of went out of the flag football picture for a while because you were playing rugby. Me and Cam have been on both those situations, and we have paid to play on both. So, preference here, I mean,
I'm curious what you're gonna say.
So we played together on this team called the Panthers. You literally left the team,
Yes,
and
I
we
did.
both came on the team. So we got to the the semifinals 2 or 3 seasons in a row and lost in the semifinals. Most of the time, it was us shooting ourselves in the foot. We should have been in the finals, and it was just like minor mistakes that shouldn't have happened. Then we kind of went our separate ways for a little bit, and then we went back to a rebuild of the Panthers called the Dream Killers. And
with a Z.
I think it was a Z.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a Freddie.
It's just cooler with a Z.
You had Freddie on the front.
Yeah, we had our dreams killed.
Oh, that was you guys.
Yeah.
Oh.
And we
I heard
went
about that.
the first season. I joined the second season, but it was 0-16 or 0-12 or something because there's not as many as NFL. And then we kept trying to get past that hurdle. Each season we won a little bit more, but we kept buying into the rebuild every time. And
trust the process.
So my opinion is
trust the GMs.
I have two ways of thought here. I got number one, I'd be happy to play a professional sport, period. So I don't care what team I'm on. But getting super close with the hopes of getting farther, I would rather that. Even if we get our dreams crushed every year.
I guess it's my turn now. It's actually a hard question because I've had my heart broken, and it just in the war. I think in basketball, in the war, football, it's just it eats at you until you get a chance to do it again, and to do it multiple times back to back to back. I mean, I hate saying it, but I'll go through it every time because at least you're there and you feel like it can be fixed. The next time's going to be different. Whereas I don't know if I would want to play on a team where we just, I mean, ironic I did, but like where we just are not good.
Yeah, we definitely didn't enjoy being on that team.
It's just not fun.
We enjoyed winning more than we enjoyed losing. Because you're not going to go to a team and give it your all. We played on half a dozen teams that, had potential but fell short.
Yeah.
And we've had teams that we thought had potential that were just really not that great. And we still gave it our all. But finding the will to show up every week was hard when you're consistently losing. Than if you know that you have a shot.
And it's not, and just to clarify, it's not like we went into the the cafeteria, picked like 12 people and went and started a team. We were always one piece away. And with the Dream Killers, we didn't have a quarterback. We had a good line, we had good receivers, but if you can't throw them the ball, it doesn't matter.
Great defense.
We had a good defense, it doesn't matter. And that was the Dream Killers. On the Panthers, we had good everything, we just lacked experience. And the teams we lost to, we got heartbroken by the Knights, but every other team was just beating us with experience. Had that team stayed together, probably could have won.
And to be fair, that those games against the Knights both times went into double overtime in the semifinals.
Yeah,
so, it was 110 degrees or like damn near close to that shit with humidity included. Everyone was gassed, and it just there's only And then they had the championship game, the actual finals the same day.
Yeah.
And
I've been on a team where, my friends out of college asked me to play on their basketball team. And they did their research on the league. And like, well, everybody wins at least one game. You can win one game. We know we're not that good, but we want you to come play with us if you don't mind. So I drove the 45 minutes and did it with them. We were playing in South Windsor.
Yeah.
We got our butts kicked every game. And the two games we almost won against the same team, we lost in overtime. I mean, would I do that again? No. No. But, I'm grateful for the experience of having done it. I think it made me a better basketball player at that moment.
You get exposure to new people.
Yeah, and I got to work on a whole bunch of different parts of my game. But if I'm a professional, that's not something I want to be a part of. That to me is the same question.
It's bad on mental health.
Yeah. Would you rather be at the end of the bench on a winning team or the best player on the worst team? And I think that's kind of where people, the thought process. And it could go either way when you're a professional, but to me, the habits and stuff you get from being on the winning team, even if you get your heart broken, are still better sometimes than what you're going to get on the...
Who was the Blue Mountain State quarterback? Alex Morant?
Oh, God, I don't remember. I'm sorry, guys.
Blue Mountain State, it was...
Great show.
Great show, but he was so happy being the second string.
It's funny you said that because I saw, obviously, social media, Joe Burrow, I followed Joe, and he was doing his interview, and he was saying how he was thrilled to be the second string at Ohio State. And I was like, well, why? You could be the first string at Ohio State. And he's like, you know what? But to be a backup quarterback, he's like, I didn't have to worry about anything.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, cool.
That's exactly the reason.
Then you would have loved being the third string because then you sure as hell don't have to worry about anything. But I think that's just the mindset there of, let's do it. But no, I'd rather sadly get my heart broken in every big
Every
game.
time.
It's like losing in the Final Four every year, but at least you get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, for me personally, I played on a lot of bad teams. So, I learned how to lose. And in order to know how to win, you got to learn how to lose. And plus, like, I always remember playing, like, a bunch of sports video games and stuff. And doing, like, franchise mode and stuff. I would always pick, like, a bad team. And try to rebuild them. And try to see it all the way through. And if I just couldn't get them to, tippity top, then it's like, okay, it's time to leave and do something different. So I can definitely see where people don't want to be a part of, like, rebuilds. But at the same time, I wouldn't want to not play and be on a good team.
Like I would love to be on the Detroit rebuild team of late because went from the one with Dan Campbell.
I mean,
From the beginning.
NBA and NFL. Which one?
The NFL. The NFL.
Fair.
I'm sure the Pistons did triple their win count almost year over year. So Detroit's popping right now.
No, they are.
Sports, man.
They're a great team. All three. Tigers are good too.
Yeah, hopefully the Red Wings come back too.
I will say this, though.
Everything.
Having done an individual sport, I think the question is slightly altered a little bit. My response would be completely different. I've done track and field my whole life. I did it in college. So would I rather get my heart broken or lose by a lot? To be honest, I'd rather lose by a lot. I think when you do that sport, to know you were this close and you didn't get it, I'd rather not be in that scenario, lose by a lot, and know that, okay, I have a lot to work on to get back to that spot.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the ultimate heartbreak. When it's a team thing, I hate saying it, but we can kind of blame somebody else on the team. It's part of life, hey, the kicker missed a field goal. There's a lot of other things that go into that. Like, he shouldn't have been in that situation. But in track and field, it's all you. It's your preparation. It's your reliant on yourself. You know your abilities. You know how hard you worked. But there's a limit sometimes you can't push your body past. And that might be your limit. Right. Might be just coming up short. So I'd rather not know my limit than to know it and know I can't go past it.
Well, true.
And I think that's the hard part.
Yeah, for sure. Totally. Anyway, now that we got through all our heartbreaks and the depressing part of our lives,
with talk about something better.
We're gonna go ahead and segue into curses, not curse words, but actual maybe superstitions, our intuitions, curses. There's been some great curses in sports history. The curse of the Bambino, which was broken by the Red Sox in 2004. Which one was the Cubs?
Was that the Black Cat?
Wasn't there the name for the Cubbies? Or they just had the longest drought? Anyway, the Cubs went a very long time without winning a World Series until they did in, I believe it was like 2016. They won the World Series. There's also been some very long, he mentioned the Cleveland Browns. Ever since they moved and remade the new Cleveland Browns. So, I want to ask, do we believe that curses in sports are real? Or is it a bunch of hibbity, hoppity, hoopla? Is it all just a bunch of bullshit?
Are you ready to go or you want me to go,
We
Cam?
started with Cam on the first one.
Okay.
So we're going to go to Mr. Matt Baywood. What say you?
I say that the Madden curse is true.
Nick Bear, hope not.
So, in 2000, I'm going to read the list here because I got it. In 2000, Barry Sanders retired on the eve of training camp after the 1999 season. They put him on the Madden 2000 cover. 1 year before that, 2004, Michael Vick suffered a broken fibula after being placed on the front of the cover. Ray Lewis, Madden 2005, experienced a series of injuries and performance decline. Donovan McNabb, 2006, he experienced a significant decline in his play and missed substantial time due to injuries the season following his Madden cover debut. Sean Alexander, he suffered a broken foot and never made another Pro Bowl after being on the cover.
I believe he was the MVP the previous season.
He was. Vince Young, Madden 2008, struggled throughout the season although he missed only one game due to injury.
He was never the same.
Right. Brett Favre, he returned from retirement, suffered a minor injury during the season. Drew Brees experienced a decline in performance. He did bounce back. Calvin Johnson, lower touchdown numbers. Adrian Peterson had injury issues. Odell Beckham, injury issues. Gronkowski, just decline in performance. He was older. Antonio Brown just completely internally combusted. The guy turned into a complete mental nutcase. And then the last few have been pretty good. But there was a whole long list there of injury-riddled and performance declines after the Madden cover. And I pray that it doesn't happen to Saquon. But I did see a funny Madden cover of Mark Andrews
dropping the ball. I've seen a ton of those memes. It's so funny.
So if they can make that like the Madden cover alternate, I would love that. But I think the Madden curse is not necessarily real in terms of like you go on the Madden cover. I think because it was labeled that way and social media blows it up, that it becomes mental for that player maybe, and you know they overthink things. I don't know if that really gets to them about Madden, but I know there's players that definitely pay attention to their Madden rating and get genuinely mad about it. 2K as well. But, you know, something to think about. You got something, Cam?
I honestly am probably the contrary on this. I don't believe in curses in sports. I get it, a lot of bad events that just happen to happen. You know, I mean, you can't explain it. Maybe if you want to say you can't explain something and justify it by a curse, I get it. I think it's the Cubs where they're 1 out away and the guy reaches in the stands and the guy catches the baseball.
And a foul ball. Yeah.
Foul ball, I remember.
Yep.
I remember that one.
I remember that.
You know, in baseball it's sports, you know, that shit happens. You know, whether or not the build up around it might be why we consider things curses, because the build up's always leading to something. You know, when you put somebody on the Madden cover, you put a target on them. You know, anybody can be on the cover. The person usually on the cover is the face of the league at that point. You know, I'm sure a lot of other people think it should be somebody else, or it's a violent sport. You know, you're gonna get hit. You're a quarterback. You're a running back. You're gonna do this. Obviously, yeah, it doesn't look good when everybody on the cover gets hurt, but that's kind of the stuff that happens in football.
I got one more before.
Sure.
So, I mean, personally, I don't believe in them. I get it. Bad things happen. Droughts happen. Weird events happen. But, I mean, I'm not. I think some of them are funny the way it pans out.
Yeah.
I still can't. It's again, I'm thinking the black cat on the field. But I don't believe in them.
You believe they're coincidence?
I believe they're coincidences.
Okay.
And, again, you know, it just happens to be that. And I mean, I probably sound stupid, you know, I'm not gonna lie, but I don't believe in them. I just think they're coincidences that happen, and we want to justify it a curse because it's been so many years since somebody's done something. The Madden ones are different, obviously. That does sound kind of sketchy, I'm not gonna lie, but in terms of, well, our drought didn't end and we've been done. Well, what could you have done to end it? Maybe win some of the games you should have won. You know, that's life. The rules let fans catch the balls. Sorry. You know, it all pans out to just the way the games are played out and the way things pan out. I mean, I don't believe in them. That's all I can say.
So I got. Okay. Do we remember the Bengals playoff drought before Joe Burrow got there?
Yes.
Where they would lose and
They would have had it 1-1.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
So this was a funny moment because it happened on behalf of my Steelers. In the 2015 season, the Steelers played the Bengals in the wild card game, and it was a absolute downpour game, low scorer. Ben Roethlisberger got hurt on a sack, and he had to go to the locker. He had the dislocated shoulder or torn rotator cuff or something that needed to be repaired after the season. and Landry Jones was playing quarterback, and the Steelers were still they were losing by 1 or 2 points, and Landry Jones throws a pick. This is after the 2 minute warning in the fourth quarter. Throws a pick to Vontaze Burfict, and then like 2 plays later, they're just running out the clock, right? The Bengals, and Jeremy Hill gets stripped, and by Ryan Shazier. Ben Roethlisberger comes out of the locker room, could barely throw the ball. He looked like he had a noodle arm out there. They go down the field. This is also the game that Antonio Brown got hit by Burfict and got that massive concussion, which was
It was the night game, right?
it was the night.
Oh, that was the Bengals had A.J. McCarron that game, right?
Yes.
They should have won that game.
Yes, they should have won the game, but Ben threw it over the middle to Antonio Brown. Burfict hit Brown late and slash in the head.
That was his suspension after that, right?
He got
suspended for
pretty much.
Yeah,
a decent amount of time.
And other dirty hits that he did.
That was this was the culmination.
I believe so.
Hitting a superstar at the
famous
time.
one.
Yeah.
So then they got 15 yards for unnecessary roughness, and then Joey Porter, who was our linebacker coach at the time, stepped onto the field when he shouldn't have, and one of the Bengals players lightly pushed him out of the way. Another 15-yard penalty, and then the Steelers kicked the field goal and won.
Yeah.
Like, talk about a fan base, because this was at the Bengals.
Composure.
This wasn't a Steelers home game by any means. The Bengals fans are going absolutely nuts. This was like you've seen Cowboys fans cry at the end of the year. Like, seeing the Bengals fans just like feel like you could just tell that they think that the curse is real.
And you know what? On that note, it's funny too is that you did it to yourself.
Oh yeah.
And I said honestly, Jeremy Hill running it out. Let's not even talk about that. And then Vontaze Burfict. You knew what kind of player he was. You knew
he was just a Steeler killer.
When you watch him play, you know there's a penalty coming at some point. You just don't know when it is.
Yep.
And I was watching the highlights on him the other day, because I follow the games with names with Edelman and Gronkowski, and they were talking about it, and you could just see the hits he would lay on people, and he hit them almost like you hit someone. The play is so illegal every single time, but you don't call all of it.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what it is. A lot of the hits are illegal, but they let it go because you don't want to stop at every play. But then he gets one good licking on you, and that just changes the game.
Changes the whole game.
And for them, it was on, I forget who was on the Patriots, but Gronk was instigating as usual. And then they ran the score up because they were like, fuck you. But, yeah, I remember that hit on Antonio Brown. I remember watching, and I just remember saying, this dude's getting suspended the rest of the year. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Didn't happen. But he did get suspended and fined a pretty hefty amount.
Yeah.
And actually, that's the conversation they had on SportsCenter the following few weeks was about his hit and his play. And then I think they were arguing, is he a dirty player? Does he do dirty plays? And that's still a question to this day about him. You know what? As a Steeler fan, where do you fall on that?
On Burfict?
Yeah.
He was 100% a dirty player.
Yeah.
It's no question. I'm pretty honest about this stuff. Like, even though he was in a team rival, I mean, you could say anything you want about how hard the Ravens hit. I never thought that many of them were dirty players at all. Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, they were just hard. They just hit hard. There's a difference in hitting hard and clean than definitively targeting people for injury purposes. Burfict was not going after the ball. He was headhunting. He also hurt Le'Veon Bell and tore his ACL not once, but twice. He hurt Big Ben by driving him into the ground earlier in that game. So, and that was just against the Steelers alone. He was doing that league-wide.
Yeah. I agree. I also am going to take the side that curses are real. And the only reason I'm going to, not only reason, but for a long time I believed that the Red Sox would never win a championship in my lifetime because the curse of the Bambino. And also, when, I obviously wasn't alive for this, but when Buckner let that ground ball through his legs against the Mets, I'm like, it's real. I remember watching that clip and saying, it's real. I remember seeing Aaron Boone hit that home run in Game 7. I'm like, it's real. They're just snake bitten. But then eventually, the following year they came back from 3-0.
Yeah.
And I also believe that when one curse is broken, a new one is made in its place.
Yeah.
And I know you took the Madden curse.
Yep.
I fully believe in that.
Yep.
Because even last year, Josh Allen was on the cover.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great year. MVP. So how could the curse be real? He choked in the AFC Championship. Not really. He didn't choke. But they lost again.
Yeah.
To the same person.
Same thing, Lamar, too. Lamar was on the cover at one point, I think.
Yes, he was.
I think he's been on the cover a few times.
Never been in the Super Bowl. So,
although Patrick
So,
Mahomes was, he did win multiple times.
Yeah.
Although he has shown significant decline.
and here's where his curse comes in, because he's been on the cover twice. He had it by himself, and then he was on the cover with Tom Brady.
That's
Who
right.
many perceive to be the greatest well, not perceive anymore. He is the greatest quarterback that's ever played. He will always be in Brady's shadow.
That's
And
what I said.
personally, I think the Chiefs' window is about to close.
That I also speaking
That's
of
just my
Brady's
opinion.
shadow, I just want to
But-
reinstate this that yes, Aaron Rodgers is now a Pittsburgh Steeler, but I just want to reinforce the fact that the only darkness retreat he was in was Tom Brady's shadow. Just want to keep that present.
We'll save that for another part of the
Yeah.
show.
So let me ask you both then, being that the last few years, you're saying that he was cursed because he lost in the AFC Championship game again?
Josh Allen?
Yeah.
Yes. That's how the curse works. It's either the player has a bad year, gets injured, or the team doesn't do well. Even the year Brady was
I
on
don't
it.
think you can do both.
Sure you can.
I don't think you can do both.
Because the year
They were
Brady
also
was
favorites
on it,
to win the
they
Super
won the
Bowl,
Super
too.
Bowl, but Gronk tore his ACL.
Yeah, but last year no one was picking in the beginning of the year no one was picking them to win the Super Bowl.
Who wasn't?
I know, but that's the point, man. He was on the cover, and the team ended up not winning, and they lost to the same person again. In Mahomes.
I mean, I don't see.
I'm less inclined to believe that part of the curse than it was the other parts. Like Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
No.
Or I'll give you another one. Richard Sherman was on it.
Yeah, he had significant decline.
Within 2 years, the Legion of Boom was destroyed. And you know what sucks is now that Saquon's on it, and this is
So
why
if Saquon goes on to have a good year and you repeat as Super Bowl champions, then what are you gonna say?
I
he
don't
didn't
know,
get
The
because
curse can be broken.
It
He didn't
can
get
be
Offensive
broken.
Player of the Year.
It could be broken, but I have a feeling something's gonna happen.
But
It could happen to Jalen Hurts. It could happen to some. I hope not. God forbid. Knock on wood. Knock on wood. I don't know. I
But I
wanted
don't-
Justin Jefferson on it.
I don't think
But-
you can justify team success when an individual person's on the field and say you had a bad year. I mean, Saquon had a great year. If he has a great year and the Eagles don't win, I don't think that's a curse. I just think that, look, you didn't win. To me, that's not a curse. I feel like you're trying to justify them losing with a curse, and that's not what I don't feel that's what
I'm
that
just
is.
saying. I don't.
Like Josh Allen had a great year, you lost. Okay, we weren't picking you to win
All I'm saying
anyway.
is it's happened so many times that it's not a coincidence. But that's not the example I want to use.
Okay.
I have a separate one that I fully believe in. I believe that the New York Jets will not win a Super Bowl until Joe Namath dies. And here's why. And this is my whole Aaron Rodgers conspiracy coming right now. Here we go. Get your popcorn, guys. Super Bowl III, 1969. Joe Namath guarantees victory over Johnny Unitas and the Baltimore Colts. Johnny Unitas at that time was considered the pinnacle of quarterbacks. Right? Best quarterback of that era.
Mhm.
He guarantees victory. They go out and they win that game. When was the last time the Jets won the Super Bowl after that?
That was what in the seven. That was.
I'll tell you what.
50s?
They
Never.
haven't.
Yeah, they haven't.
They haven't. Joe Namath sold his soul to the devil for that guarantee. And I'll give you another example as proof. When Aaron Rodgers first signed with the New York Jets, Joe Namath offered to unretire number 12 because Aaron Rodgers wore 12.
Where for the Jets?
Yes.
They were 8.
He declined Joe Namath's offer to wear his old college number, which is 8. 4 plays into his Jets debut, he gets hurt. What is 8 plus 4? 12. If you take 1 off of 12 and add 1 to 8, you get 9 and 11. His injury occurred on September 11th, which was in New York.
The Jets play in Jersey.
I know, but I'm just saying, they're a New York market team.
The Jets play
This
in
guy
Jersey.
Cam.
The Jets play in Jersey, guys.
I'm just saying, it's written.
For all you people who aren't in the New England area, MetLife Stadium is in New Jersey. It is not in New York. They are the New York Jets. Their home field
They're
is
headquartered
New
in New
Jersey.
York.
They play in Jersey.
I know, but I'm just saying.
Where is the field located?
What is their team name?
I don't know what their team is. Where is the field located?
Their corporate address is in New York.
Where is the field located?
It's in New
On
Jersey.
the border of New York.
It's not even the border. It's over. Different taxes, guys. You'd
Well,
rather pay.
they're
You'd
taxed
rather
as in
pay
New
New
York,
Jersey.
too.
You'd rather pay New York Jersey taxes. But
All I'm saying is, they're not going to win one until Joe Namath dies. That's just I don't, Joe Namath, if you're listening to this, please subscribe. I don't want you to die, but I'm just saying.
Well, according to this, all Jets fans do.
Wasn't his pick last year to win the Jets originally?
Look, mine wasn't, but I know somebody
No,
else's
it was the Jets to be there against the Eagles.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, no, I said no to that.
Yeah.
Hater, but yes, I said no.
So I got part of it right. But yeah, I think
The better part.
the better, yes. The one that, But yeah, Matt took my thunder. Anywho.
Oh, you were going to say that?
Yeah, I was going to say the Madden curse is real.
Uh-oh.
Because it is.
Oh,
Anyway.
okay. Yeah.
We're going to transition off of curses and negativity. And we're going to get into a topic we don't really talk about a whole lot. We're going to bring up a little bit of mixed martial arts. UFC 316 occurred last night. I don't know if you guys watched it. We saw a title change with Kayla Harrison submitting Juliana Pena in the second round with a Kimura lock. And we also saw Merab Davishavali, I hope that's how you pronounce your name, retaining against Sean O'Malley, also by submission. He hit him with a Darcy choke. It was pretty nasty. But that's really not what we're talking about here. The question I'm going to pose, some of us may watch MMA or boxing, combat sports in general, but we may not want to watch it more than we want to watch basketball or football, right? Just as an example. Do you guys think that MMA or boxing is more watchable than the top 4 sports in America? Or do you think there's a place for it down the road? Is it already more watchable than like baseball or hockey? Or is your preference still, like, say if there's an NFL playoff game versus a UFC fight, which one are you watching? If you had to pick.
Well, I'm picking the NFL playoff game, but I think if you don't know the rules of what you're watching, you're more inclined not to watch it. So I don't know if it's as much of a will it ever overtake one of the big 4 sports. I think it's more of if you understand UFC and you understand the rules, then you may watch that more over a different sport. I don't think people are just going to tune in to see people hitting each other. You know, you need to know the tactics behind it. I don't know if we have big enough UFC stars right now to where the common person walking on the street knows who they are. I'll be honest. I can't think of the guy's name anymore. The Irish dude.
Conor McGregor.
McGregor. Yeah, there it is. See,
Yeah, he hasn't fought in a few years.
He hasn't fought in a few years, but I still know who he is. I would make that almost on the lines of Logan Paul versus
Mike Tyson.
Mike Tyson. You know, was it good? No.
No.
But did it get people to tune in and watch? Yeah.
It got Netflix crashing.
It did.
It did, yeah.
Couldn't watch my shows, my Peaky Blinders. But
great show.
it is a great show, right? But that's the scenario of it. If it's 2 heavyweights who you know their names, we all know Mike Tyson history.
Mm-hmm.
We all knew that was not going to happen now. He's old now. Logan Paul is not. But we still tuned in to watch the famous people we know clash. I think we tuned in to watch Conor McGregor when he was doing it versus Floyd Mayweather because we knew the names. It can be the biggest fight in the year. If we don't know the rules, the average person's probably not going to watch it because they don't know the names.
Right.
If you know the names and not the rules, you still may watch it because you know who the people are. If you don't know the rules and don't know the names, you're probably not going to watch it. And it's also not something you grow up with. You know, football, baseball, basketball, hockey, lacrosse, swimming, all that stuff. You go from K to 12. You know, and then wherever after that, it's always going to be there. UFC, still more recent. It's an acquired taste at this point. I will say it's probably great to watch live. To be in the facility, in the arena, watching them beat the crap out of each other is probably great. To be at a bar, too, it's great. But if I'm home, probably not watching it. I appreciate it. I'll watch it with friends, but I'm not going to tune it on myself. I don't know the rules enough, and it doesn't appeal to me like that. If I knew the rules, hell yeah.
Perfect. Yeah.
I like your point about, it being like the normal Big Four sports are pretty family oriented in a way that anybody can just watch it. They're
ingrained in us at a young age.
Yeah.
You know.
Here's the typical stepping point to the UFC. Maybe somebody's in karate or some sort of martial art. They might be watching the WWE, which is obviously pre-planned. However, they are going out there and doing their own stunts and whatnot, which is, in my eyes, very impressive when they pull off certain moves and whatnot, and it's entertainment. And then you go to the real deal, which UFC, which we've seen a couple of fighters switch, or a couple of people in the WWE switch to the UFC. One maybe not so great, not great at all actually, not even good. And then another one actually dominate in it, Brock Lesnar. I don't think that it will overtake the Big Four or be included in that, only due to the fact, this is my opinion on it, is, in my experience with it, is that the fight cards go way too late for me to watch it regularly, because even that gimmick fight, Paul versus Tyson, I think it was like 12. I was heading back from the Knicks game.
Yeah. And
I was watching it on my phone on the train, and I was falling asleep. The shit was so late.
Yeah.
Like, I get it, other shit's going on. You got primetime sports, but I feel like that they plan around that, and that's where their downfall is. Because it is kind of targeting a bit of a niche area. Because, yeah, like Cam had said, that it's like I could put my stepson next to me on the couch, watch hockey, basketball, football, baseball. Don't know if I really want him watching a blood sport. As entertaining as it is, I love watching the UFC, aside from the timing and, I mean, just the appreciation of having a mixed martial art. I mean, it's so technical, but the last point I'm going to make is that a lot of the cards, like even this past UFC 319,
was 316, I think.
Okay.
Whatever the number was.
Yeah. It was...
I believe it's 16.
Like, we had discussed pre-show, it was a quick card. I tuned into the co-main event and the main event, and they were both just utterly dominated. Didn't look like it was an even match fight. I've seen fights where, it could go either way throughout the whole thing. I always loved watching Adesanya fight. He was my favorite fighter.
The last stylebender.
Yeah. He blended, for Cam's, for your reference, if you don't know, he literally could do almost any mixed martial art.
Yeah, he was a beast.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say The Last Airbender. I'm like, no,
that's
I know the show.
It might have been an Airbender.
I was like, I know the show, but continue.
Anyway.
Might be Aang in real life.
There's times where, like, you're looking forward to the main event, and it just fails. The McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather boxing match was... I spent money on that. We packed the room. It was uncomfortably hot for the entire card, and that fight was a big disappointment. Same thing with I was on a train this time for the Logan Paul, Mike Tyson. I know this is boxing, but it's the same thing in UFC where somebody could just dominate. They could win in 2 seconds. It's not entertaining. You know you're going to get 60 minutes worth of football. You know you're going to get 48 minutes worth of basketball. You know you're going to get 3 20-minute periods in hockey. You don't really know how long baseball's going to go.
Oh, my God.
But at the same time, you know you're going to get 9 innings or more. And UFC is kind of, what's the word? Volatile when it comes to timing of things, because you could have an overmatched card. You know, one fighter could get knocked out in one punch. It's pretty, like, you can't.
It's like a box of chocolates.
Literally. You don't know what you're going to get.
Never know.
And that's where I think you don't know it in regular sports too, but at least you have 60 minutes worth of a chance.
You have time to figure it
You
out.
have more of an expectation.
Exactly.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think it's going to be hard for them to get as much viewership, I think, as, like, the NFL. It's also, too, like, boxing and UFC, they're pay-per-view.
Yep.
So a casual fan at home, they're not going to pay $50, $60. Like Cam said, if you're not really familiar with it, if you don't know the name, you're not going to just shell out money to go watch it.
Yeah.
You may go to a bar because they have it on for free.
You still got to pay for a table sometimes.
Yeah.
You're still paying for food, for drinks.
I remember B-dubs used to charge you to sit down.
It was like $50.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Still.
I was at B-dubs last night watching the card with a friend, just there casually. High noons are $11 a can.
Yep.
Yeah, no. Only go there after 9 p.m. for their $4 menu.
I went to a.
I'm sorry, B-dubs. You don't get no shout out out here. I hope you don't subscribe.
I went to Dave Portnoy's Pizza Fest in Randall's Island this past. The high noons were $16 a can.
You're in New York. There you go.
I remember I rung up 4, 2 for me and my my wife, and 2 for my cousin, or 4 total. It was $68.
Yep. That's not today, Satan.
Nope.
And then people wonder why people are sneaking drinks in all these places. Damn.
But yeah, I mean, I'm also a fan of mixed martial arts and boxing.
I've done 2 myself.
Yeah, I think if they maybe were, not say on cable, but if they were, like, if those big fights were on ESPN, not ESPN Plus that you have to pay for, but like if they put it on CBS or on Fox more often. I know they do, like, fight nights, but they're not like title fights, you know, stuff like that. Maybe
I think
that
that's
would
the
help,
gateway.
but,
I think that'd be the gateway for people to watch it be, and I will say it is starting to be on ESPN a little more, especially summertime where there's really nothing going on.
Yeah.
But I think that's what needs to happen. I think you need to see it and want to watch it and want to learn about it.
Right.
Again, it's hard. You know, yes, people have done Taekwondo, they've done karate growing up, mixed martial arts, but you're still ingrained from a young age at all the other sports. And even then in New England, we'll say, we're more engaged in swimming. Why? Because what do we do during the summertime?
Swim.
We have pools, we have lakes, we have friends who have pools, lakes, boats. We're out there, we're doing water sports, you know, we're doing all that fun stuff. And I think the summer's hard too, because if I say, do you want to stay inside and watch this, or do you want to go out and do something? The weather's nice. We're all going to go out and do something. And as a group with your friends, what can you all go out and do? One of those other sports. I mean, we can go do UFC, but we'll probably not be friends after we're done.
Right, yeah.
I'll be honest with you. I mean, I have insurance. I don't know about everybody else. But that's kind of the stuff too. The stuff you can do with your friends, your families, versus stuff you can't.
I mean, and there's weight classes too, but like jiu-jitsu is one of those things that I used to just do.
I mean, you don't want to fight Nick?
I mean, no, I like Nick.
I like Matt too, man.
And Nick look alike?
I mean, no, he's the guy that was
if
trying
he
to hug.
wearing a bonnet.
No, however, the guy that was trying to hug Nick at Molly's, I would have fought in a minute.
Dude.
We're not name dropping on here.
We're
in
not
that
name
situation.
dropping nobody, but let's just say somebody almost caught a fade.
And we're not talking about a haircut.
No.
No.
Not a one on the sides neither.
Right, don't say names. Don't say names.
I don't even know their name. I just know,
Let's leave it at that.
Man, they would have ordered a knuckle sandwich with a side of hand.
He didn't have a 1 for me. He had 2 5s.
2 5s.
Man, I would have gave him a 4 for 4.
When I saw him approaching Nick, I just turned around. I'm like, I can't.
Good times, man. Good times. I'm a lover, not a fighter.
But jiu-jitsu rolling was there's immense respect. I mean, once you tap, they let go. You dap up, you roll again.
I will say this, though. I think for one of them, for it to overtake one, because I don't think it would ever overtake all.
No.
But for it to overtake one, I think as a community or a group, and I can say we because I feel this way sometimes, I would have to be so fed up with my sport that I want to watch something else. That's what it would take. And I think, to be honest with you, and I'm not going to say, I'll say which sport I think it was. Not that it would overtake it right away. Don't anyone think that that's what I'm saying, like off today, on tomorrow. But I think baseball was heading down that path. Because the games were just too fucking long.
Oh, you mean to get overtaken?
Where people are like, I'm going to stop watching.
Oh.
You know, baseball to me, I can watch it live. I'd rather be there. To watch it on TV is a little bit of a struggle, even though I can.
They try to keep the crowd entertained.
And that's probably why.
Yeah.
But it was boring in some aspect. It took too long. You know, a whole 2 hours go by. You're only in the fourth fucking inning at sometimes. To me, if I could have watched something else, I would have watched something else on TV. I would, especially when you can get updates on your phone and you don't have to watch.
By the way, NHL playoffs, these past 2 games, Cam asked for higher scoring.
They delivered.
Yeah.
See, you listen to what I asked for, guys, and guess what? I've been watching clips, but still watching.
They were great games.
I've been with Nick at the bar on one of them. He was screaming, but we were good.
Good times, man.
I was watching the Knicks game. He was watching that.
So I guess the answer for all of us was no, or you didn't answer yet?
No, I don't think it will overtake it. I think, going off of Cam's point about exposure at a young age, we're more inclined to be exposed to football, basketball, baseball, swimming.
It's on TV.
A lot of other things before martial arts, and there's always that perception of violence.
Even soccer.
Yeah, absolutely soccer. Soccer's like the first sport that the mass majority of people play.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's
That
the first sport I played. Yeah, or baseball. It was, ironically, it was karate.
Yeah.
And then it was soccer.
Mine was soccer, then swimming.
Yeah. So.
Looking at me like I have 2 heads. Yes, I can swim, Matt.
Whoa. Matt wasn't even looking at you.
I know, right? Looking like, for my eyes.
I gotta say,
he looks like a great swimmer.
Our friend Tommy, I gotta shout Tommy out for this. Tommy cannot swim.
And you just blew up his spot.
But wait, if there is a nice looking lady in the water,
he's Michael Phelps.
Literally, I swear to God, we went to Long Island Sound. He's like, yo, I think that girl's cute, and I'm walking down. I'm like, yo, you can't swim, and he's treading water like he's. I swear to God, he's out there.
He's got his flippers on. He's got a snorkel.
I can't.
That shit was so funny.
Man.
He was out there talking to her. He was treading water like I'm like, yo, where was
swimming that 200 freestyle?
Go to the YMCA. Maybe it was the salt water that was holding them up.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Until you see Jaws come, everybody can
very,
swim.
he's very buoyant.
Right.
Very bouillant.
My guy didn't think twice.
He's very
Jumped
buoyant.
in.
Bouillant.
It was the Four Loko that made him.
Yeah.
Made him
The second part of that is loco.
All right. With that, now that we're getting off topic, shout out to Tommy. I actually want to bring up a couple other topics that I thought were pretty interesting. I know I'm bringing up baseball again, but over the weekend, Arizona Diamondbacks starting pitcher Corbin Burns suffered a elected to get Tommy John surgery, ending his 2025 season very early. Now, the only problem is, Arizona just signed him to a 6-year, $215 million extension this past offseason. So he's averaging over $35 million a year. So I want to pose a question. I'm going to start with Cam on this one, because I believe you started the last topic. Matt, right? Or
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Doesn't matter. Answer how you wish. Should teams, any sport, should they at least get more flexibility when it comes to how salaries are paid? I'll give you an example. Should they get the option to defer the remaining year's salary? Should there be a clause in contracts, there's like an injury minimum that we're willing to pay you? Say you miss half the year, you get the first half of your scheduled pay, and then up to whatever the injury minimum is, and then that's it for that year. Or something of that nature.
Well, I think that could be drastically less. And so, I mean, these people don't need it. They're already millionaires. So, I mean, but at the end of the day, you know, I want to say yes and no.
Sure.
You know, I think it's a twofold question. I think, because I don't think you can do what ifs. You know, I think if you get hurt during the season doing what you are paid to do, then you should be fully covered. You know, if you get hurt off season doing something you aren't supposed to do, and if going into the season, you know, then I think that should be in your contract, and we should look at that, because I don't think the team should be punished because you made a bad decision. I think negotiating and then deciding you're out for the season, I think that's a managerial tactic to get paid, knowing that you are not going to get that contract once you're healthy. So to me, it's a yes and no thing. I don't like it. I think a team should be deferred. I don't think it should affect them either way. But if you get hurt doing something you're not supposed to do, or even something out of the ordinary, you know, then I don't think the team should be punished for that. You know, that's your decision. But again, you had a good point in the question. That should be in the contract. The fact that it's not in your contract, I'd have to look at the team on that. When you're investing millions of dollars into people, the contract is live and die. It is make or break your franchise at times. Not on an injury note, but look at Kyler Murray had in his contract. You need to watch this amount of tape and can't play video games this much. All right. We all thought it was stupid in the contract. It shouldn't be in there, but stipulations were still in there. You know, I had one off the top of my head, is that John Wall. We all remember John Wall when he was in Washington. Remember why he stopped playing in Washington? You know, now his was a little different. You know, he had surgery on his heel to remove a heel spur on January 8th. He played 41 games, then sat out, then signed a huge off-season deal, then ruptured his Achilles just walking in his house.
Yeah, he slipped right
on so that was an additional 12 months out. I mean, can we blame him for that? No, but should he be making the $109 million extension that he signed? That's got to be deferred or something. That's nothing that they did. So I'm hoping that answered your question, kind of. I think it should be deferred by the team.
There are no wrong answers.
And I'll be 100% honest with you. Deferred with the option to terminate or cut. I think that should be in there too. Again, we don't see it or we don't hear about it from the megastars. It's not something I think we have to worry about. But there's plenty of players who play in any one of the major sports who do a lot of stuff during the off season and get hurt, and then the team's paying the price for that. So you don't want to cut them or terminate them, but if they're not going to follow the basic rules where you're just asking them to stay in shape or not do anything dumb, then, I mean, you can't do anything about that. I know in some people's contracts they say you can't go skydiving, you can't ride jet skis. I've seen that, and we've talked about it. I've seen it in NBA, NFL contracts, can't ride motorcycles. And then you get in that kind of accident, that's a terminate. Like, you didn't do your deal. So either terminate their pay or cut them. You should have that option as a
motorcycle accident and Big Ben Roethlisberger. Remember this? It took a couple years off his career at least.
As you guys can tell, Matt likes the Pittsburgh Steelers.
One more, ready for this? Jason Williams. Basketball
analyst. White chocolate,
no,
Jason Williams?
Basketball analyst, Jason Williams.
Right? Not the same person.
No. White chocolate's awesome, though. Son's really good at basketball, too. But no, Jason Williams. You remember his NBA career?
No, not really. Well, I know he went to Duke, right?
Yeah.
He was a highly regarded prospect.
Was going to be a really good player. Yeah. Motorcycle accident.
Oh, boy.
So, it changes your franchise. When you draft somebody and expect them to be the next great one. And I don't know that this was in his contract, but you then turn around and you're in a motorcycle accident. Whether it's your fault, not your fault, the fact you were on the motorcycle.
Yep.
That's
more than likely wouldn't have walked away with the same. Actually, probably definitely wouldn't have walked away with the same injuries if you were in a car.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
My view, I'm not going to address that because I think we could maybe unanimously agree with the fact that if you do some stupid shit in the off season, that it just shouldn't. However, if the team is going to agree to a guaranteed contract, that is the team's fault. They owe it.
I feel like you might be referring to someone in particular that got a guaranteed contract.
Multiple.
Do we need to go get a massage and find out who it is?
Well, I wasn't going to bring him up, but now that you said that, yes.
I almost said something that I'm not going to say on the airwaves, so...
I was going to say Kawhi Leonard.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's a good one, too.
Because I feel like they
management.
should have negotiated his contract in that he either had to play... You couldn't just load manage whenever you wanted. You had to play a minimum amount of games. Or if you start missing more games, it starts docking your pay. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that should be negotiated in there, because then we're seeing people like, Joel Embiid, who may or may not be hurt. Anthony Davis be sitting out games for, a pinky injury.
As Charles Barkley said,
street
clothes.
Yeah. AD always dinged.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Then we got Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, which are the load management kings.
Podcast P.
I don't know if
He's got plenty of time for his podcast now.
But now we got people in the NFL. I don't know if Keenan Allen ever had a fully guaranteed contract. I don't think so, but he was always hurt.
I will say this, though, not to cut you off like that. I think it'd be fun to address fully guaranteed contracts
separately
down the road, because I was watching Saquon on an interview, and he used some very colorful words I will not use for the NBA players' salaries and their contracts. But I do agree. I do not play football like that, but I do feel football players' contracts should be more guaranteed, more mounted than they are. So I think that would be a very interesting topic to talk about down the road. And one of you two, well, you know what? Maybe I'll do it, because you two have great conversations on it. But that would be an interesting one.
For sure.
But yeah, I definitely think that the fully guaranteed contract kind of gets in the way of that. It needs to be brought up more, because it seems like the players have all the power in negotiating the contracts. Because if you're a great player, they're going to be like, well, you're not going to fully guarantee me this money. I'm going to walk. You don't want me to walk, right? I'm a franchise
bargaining chip.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it gets tough when negotiating. I think that maybe incentive-based contracts would work a little bit better. Because then you might train a little bit better in the off season, be a little bit more. There are always going to be freak injuries, and just like workman's comp in a regular job, you should be compensated for it if you get injured on the job.
Sure.
However, I agree with Cam in saying off season shenanigans should not be compensated.
And I think the reason it's so big in saying off season and specifying is because when you're in the off season, you're not in the limelight. You're not doing anything. Well, we're not watching you. We only see the results when you show up to training camp. If all you did was go to the buffet and eat for 3 months, that's your prerogative. We're not going to judge you for that. But come week 1 of the regular season, you better be ready. Zion, perfect example. Luka and Zion. We're not judging you during the season.
Good in New Orleans. He's eating good.
We're not judging anything you do during the offseason. We want you to do better. But come game 1, when you step on that court, we can see what you did. And now we're going to start judging you. And then when you get hurt because you weren't ready, and the team has to pay the price for that, that's where I have an issue too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I am kind of on the same side of the fence as you guys on this one, especially with the example I brought up with Corbin Burns. I believe, I don't know if I'm 100% accurate here, but all Major League Baseball contracts are fully guaranteed contracts. So whether they cut them, trade them, whatever, they still get paid what they signed for. In the case of Corbin Burns, it's an unfortunate injury, especially because he's a pitcher. And that's like the worst injury you can get is Tommy John. Because that's your elbow, especially your throwing arm.
Yeah. That's
your moneymaker. So this is not to say that I don't wish for him to have a speedy recovery so that he can get his bag. But at the same time, I think the bag should be held on to by the team for a later date, And plus, why not give teams some flexibility to use that cap, move it around, so that they can maybe do some other things in their place, knowing that they're not going to be there.
It's now deferred salary.
Right, it could be deferred. Like, you could still pay the man what you signed for, But
So you moved on the back end of their contract.
Don't pull a Benny Bonilla. Shout out to all the Mets fans out there that might know what I'm talking about.
Is that the one who's still being paid to this day?
Yes, it is.
Yep.
Actually, I think Benny Bonilla Day's coming up, I believe.
It's either coming up or he just got... I forget.
Yeah, it was like $1 million a year until like 2036 or whatever it is. They deferred his contract in like 2000 when they cut him. Yeah. So maybe not a Benny Bonilla.
That ain't a bad salary.
I was going to say, but you know what? That's not the worst decision to get $1 million every year.
Sorry, not Benny Bonilla. Bobby Bonilla. Sorry.
That's not the worst decision, though, to get $1 million every year. I mean, I don't need it all up front. If you want to...
I mean, that's how athletes go broke.
Yeah.
So
he ain't broke.
So
hell no.
Every July 1st is Bobby Bonilla Day. It's the day when the New York Mets pay their annual deferred fee to Bobby Bonilla, who last played an MLB game in October of 2001.
And how long was it deferred?
So originally, when the Mets cut him in 1999, buying out the rest of his contract, he was owed $6 million at the time when he was cut. And I guess it looks like he's been paid $1 million a year plus interest.
Dude, it well exceeds the $6 million.
Nearly $30 million.
So his $6 million got turned into $30 million.
No worries.
I'll take that. That is the you know what? Sign me up and defer my payments. I don't care.
If you don't take a tax return this year, you get $10,000 for the next 3 years.
I might actually.
It's $1.2 million every July 1st until 2035.
So what is the two?
That's
$2
crazy.
million? Is it $200,000 the interest?
I believe so. Yeah. So he's owed another like $12 million.
Can you imagine
that? That's crazy.
So maybe nothing like that, and that's not an injury.
That's earned income too. So that's still.
Is that the Jamar Chase background?
Yeah.
Yes. Let's not talk about that. Yeah. That's the reaction that people get with Bobby Bonilla Day coming up. No. But yeah, I do think it should be. There should be something in their contract about outside activities, especially in the off season. I believe there was a football player maybe last year, 2 years ago, that got into a jet skiing accident while on vacation and missed the entire season. I don't recall their name, but it might have been someone on the Bills, if I remember right. But I think they like tore their ACL because of it. And it's like, yeah, that's not good. Not to say that the man shouldn't get paid, because this is their livelihoods. But, you know, we talk a lot about collective bargaining and player activism and things like that with negotiations. But at the same time, we kind of gotta, if you're not on the field, you ain't getting paid. That's just my opinion. Or, well, at that time. Anyway, I'm going to move on for that. We're going to table some other contract discussions for a later date, because I do think that's a good topic that we should get into. Another type of contract we're going to get into.
Nyheim Hines.
Yes, the kick returner.
Yep.
That's who it was. And he was balling.
Is he on the Colts?
Yeah, he was a Bill, traded to the Colts. But like before that, he got into a jet ski accident.
Right.
Yeah. See, we're giving you live research, guys. We validate everything we say on here. No capping out here, as the kids say. So, I know we talked about sports contracts. Another type of contract that we did talk about one time before here on the Busted Coverage Podcast, NIL money. Specifically, we didn't really touch into whether they should be negotiated in season or not. And the reason I want to bring this up, we have an example. We have a case study here. I don't know if you guys watched the softball World Series for college. And the Najari Kennedy, the pitcher, Texas Tech. So, she was balling. She pitched like every game for them since like the super regionals or whatever. So she's earned her money. Let's just be clear about that. She's a beast pitcher. She transferred from Stanford. She was given $1 million NIL deal to transfer last year to this year. She became the first softball player to get $1 million NIL. And then Friday night was Game 3 of the final series with Texas, who went on to win the championship. A report came out that she received another $1 million contract, ensuring that she stays another year at Texas Tech. Texas Tech went on to lose that game 10-4. So, very bad timing for that news to come out. Not that that's Candy's fault. She carried that team through the playoffs, and unfortunately, she had one bad game. She didn't give up all 10 runs. I think she gave up like 4 or 6 or something like that, and then she got pulled. Anywho, that's not the question. Question is, when it comes to NIL, more than welcome to offer it to whomever for recruiting purposes. Sure, fine. That's just the nature of the beast now. Should it be done during the season? Yes or no, and why? Or why not?
I'm gonna say no. And I didn't talk about this when we talked about our NIL before, and it just dawned upon me when I read that question is that I don't think NIL should be negotiated pre-school signing either. I think that should be negotiated after you sign with your school. And the reason being is to restore pride in going to the school that you're choosing and not just going there for the money.
Okay, fair.
If you want to play at LSU, you go play at LSU. If you have the opportunity to make NIL money there, you sign after. But before the season, after
you've committed.
After you've committed.
After you signed your letter of intent. And
correct.
Letter, you
And
then
shown up
negotiate
for work.
Yep.
Or practice.
That is my idea. And it's as simple as that.
Fair. Okay.
I figured that one or both of you would chew on that a little bit.
Sure.
Because it was a curveball.
Yeah, no, a little bit. I will say this on signing your or discussing your NIL deals during the season. Again, NIL is still new for all of us. We're all still learning. It seems like every day we learn something different about NIL, or something happens. We're like, oh, I didn't know you could do that. I would say that NIL deals, if you are handling your NIL deal, it should be done before or after the season. If you have the school or a manager doing it, or even a family member to that extent, I don't care if you do it during the season, but know there are going to be consequences if you do it. Mm-hmm. For example, it gets out how much you're making or what you're negotiating, and then you wet the bed. You know, that you transferred because a school paid you way more. You know, someone's always going to pay you more, so then why are you going to that school? Why don't you just go there in the first place? You know, did they really want you, or they saw you were good later and knew they could pay you? You know, I think there's 50,000 questions we can always ask. I personally don't think you should talk about it during the season. You should focus on the game. And I think you said her manager leaked it, or someone leaked it.
Yeah, it was ESPN had reported it, confirmed by her manager.
Yeah, so her manager was probably thrilled to make the sign, or he was thrilled to make the deal, and it leaked. And, you know, she lost. So now we're not only questioning him, we're like, well, are you worthy of the money? And we know she is. But are you worthy of the money that you just lost the biggest game in your school's history right now? Not history, but in the year. So, again, that's part of the consequences of doing it during the season as opposed to doing it after the season. After the season, we're like, okay, wow, you earned it. You won all those games. During the season, we're like, well, you just lost the biggest game. Why are we paying you this? Or why are you getting paid this? You know, so I think it goes both ways. In terms of Matt's question, I think that'd be maybe bring some integrity back to the games where you're now going to schools before they pay you. I mean, it's still going to be interesting because we all know that some schools can pay more than others. I just learned that Cooper Flagg made $28 million in his NIL deal, which was crazy.
Probably higher than his NBA contract.
It will be higher than his rookie NBA contract, I believe, yes, in one season. And that's his NBA contract will be over 3. So, it's crazy, you know, but yeah, no, definitely something that should be discussed before or after the season. And for your own purpose, you should want it that way too. If you're an athlete, you don't want people having extra motivation to try and beat you because they know you're making more than them. Because now their goal is going to be to beat you to show that they should be making what you're making.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we all think the same here. I don't think it should be done in season. It should definitely be before or after. However, I will say, if it's being negotiated in season, personally, I would not want that coming out.
No.
Especially when I'm preparing for the biggest game of the season. There should be zero distractions. Granted, you know, you have a team, you handle it, whatever. If I hear that gets out to the press, and then something like this were to happen, I would fire my manager.
Mm-hmm.
Not even gonna lie. You're fired. Don't know if she will fire her manager. I don't know if it's family. All I know is that she's getting $2 million, whether it's deserved or not. She's getting her bag to stay at Texas Tech. And at least now, we have a story in college softball. She's now on a redemption arc, in essence, because the perception of her now she's under a microscope of, did you do this for money? She left Stanford, where I believe she was an All-American.
Yep, for money.
For $1 million deal, if this, from what I've read in the article, by ESPN. Now she gets another $1 million to stay. Cool, you're loyal to Texas Tech now. You're staying another year. Great. Sweet, get your bag, girl. Get your money, honey. Right? But now you have, like, if she doesn't come back again, like, if Texas Tech is not back in the national championship fold next year, that's a waste of $2 million.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be a standard now. It's going to be set for future softball players.
At Tech, who have good seasons.
At Tech and in general.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's the example now that's going to be used. It's just like in the NFL with guaranteed money. I know we're backtracking a little bit, but that Deshaun Watson contract will never, ever happen again. No player will ever get a full and guaranteed contract again in the NFL. It'll never happen. I don't care who it is. God himself can come down. Jesus can walk on water in a pair of Nike cleats. He won't even get a fully guaranteed contract. It's not going to happen. But anyway, I don't like the in-season negotiations. And I also do like they have to commit first. I think that, or when they commit, you get a portion or whatever, but you don't get the whole thing up front. No way. And it should be incentive-based, just like a NFL contract. Or because they basically, in essence, this Kennedy, she basically got a 1-year extension, if you want to think about it.
Yeah.
This is how it's being viewed now. I'm Oliva, the transfer guy from Tennessee, acting like it's free agency. Like, I don't know. It's just different words for the same thing. I don't know. I don't like where it's going, and I think it's hurting the integrity of the sport.
Yeah.
Sports world.
No, it is. I mean, you know, it's funny. We all agree in general. If you look at paying athletes, and the argument was, well, they go to school for free, all their stuff is free, that's them getting paid. That's not them getting paid. But I understood that argument for it too. And we feel that they should be paid something for what they're bringing into the school. Mm-hmm. But I don't want to say unfortunately, but I don't think we're paying correctly at this point. I think it's still new. We're all still trying to figure it out, and we're going to go through these bumps and these ups and downs, and I think people found loopholes. And one of the biggest loopholes is we can pay you, but guess what? We want you to come here, so we're going to pay you more money than you're currently making. To me, I think your NIL deal should be between you and the school. Nobody else should know how much money you make. And if you want to release it to another school, that's on your decision, but that also shows your true characters and your color. You know, if I know what I'm making NIL deal, I'm not going to tell you. Nor should the school report it to anybody. It's nobody else's business. Because I'm making this at my school does not mean that Joe Blow should be making it somewhere else. Everyone's different. Every school offers something different. And I think that would be something that would be more tight-knit in-house. I think that might get rid of some of these issues. Because too often do we see players in all the sports and college leaving to go somewhere else because they're being paid more. Not because they're better, but because we believe they can be good, so we're going to pay them more than they're currently making.
Greener pastures.
Yeah. Grass is not always greener on the other side. Unfortunately for them, it is, because it's a couple $1 million more, or maybe $1 million more, but it's not always that way. And I'm not saying she shouldn't be getting paid. Trust me, get your money, do what you do. I don't know what life after softball in college looks like. So get as much money as you can. Yeah. But wait till the season's over to announce it. That's my only thing.
It's just common sense.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so, because her whole off season's going to be that people coming up to her talking about her NIL deal.
By the way, I just wanted to give a shout out to Cristiano Ronaldo and his Portugal team for winning the UEFA Nationals.
Nations Cup.
Yep.
Sue.
Yeah.
I think, was the Portuguese Day Parade today in Danbury?
That was
the Greek
it was New
festival,
Jersey.
No,
They
Was
had
it
a
a Greek
huge one
festival
in-
going on.
it's
this
Greek
weekend?
Festival this
I
weekend.
think it was the Greek festival.
I don't know if you saw, but New Jersey had it was huge in Portugal, and they won today in penalties,
Yeah, they beat Spain.
It's all over my TikTok.
and they won 5-3 in penalties. It was great.
Ronaldo did score in the second half as well.
He did.
Before he was subbed out. So
He subbed out. I think he hyperextended his leg.
yeah, he was pulled.
But
Party in Portugal.
that was an entertaining game.
It was. Soccer or
The
football.
beautiful game.
Is always
Spain went
entertaining.
up, I think, within 21 minutes, and then Portugal answered at around the 30-minute mark.
Yeah, I think it was 2-1 at halftime, right? Did they score the second one before?
It
half?
was.
A little,
I think it was
a little
2-1
dinky
before
little
half. Yeah.
nice run in.
Yeah. Yeah, it was such a soft touch.
A little dinky.
Yeah.
Hey, sometimes
But, yo, those PKs were impressive. They were ripping them lower and upper
Ripping 'em.
90. Yeah.
ripping them.
I'm getting back into soccer.
Football, as it's pronounced in
Excuse
some
me.
continents.
That's why I said both.
Football.
Soccer/football.
Yeah, congratulations to Portugal. The Portuguese people are proud today.
My wife and my mother-in-law are both Portuguese.
From Portugal.
My mother-in-law was born in Portugal.
Oh, sick.
And, yeah, so she's a huge Portuguese fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard it's a beautiful country, too.
Oh, yeah.
I'd love to go. One day. We'll be there.
It's
One
on
day.
our list.
If you all subscribe, we'll make it one day.
Be partying up in Lisbon. One day.
That's where she grew up.
Lisbon?
Yeah.
We'll do a show
Show
from
us around.
Portugal.
Some bacalhau.
Bacalhao's fire.
Fire, bro. The fish. Woo-hoo. All right. With that said, I know we love bacalhau here, but we're gonna kind of do a little possibly recurring segment here. We're gonna have a little rapid fire question time.
Bang, bang, bang.
Not really rapid fire, but I got a couple quick questions. So, are you guys ready?
I'm ready.
Mm-hmm.
These are gonna be fun. I think they're gonna be fun questions, and then I have one trivia question. I'm copying Cam. I know. Gimmick infringement. I know.
I outsourced my question today.
All right. So, first question. I know I said I wasn't going to talk about the Knicks ever again. See how quickly that I changed my mind there. Who gets traded to the... If they are to be traded to the Knicks, who goes? KD or Giannis?
I knew those.
Giannis.
I'm gonna say Giannis because the Suns already turned down their trade offer, so
You don't think they counter again?
it had Cat in it. So if they said no to Cat, then I don't see that. That means there's pieces on there they don't want.
So they said no specifically to Cat.
No. Let me rephrase. It was Cat and one of the other play. I don't even remember seeing this guy on the roster, but it was somebody else on the roster, and then like a pick. But to me, that said, if you're grabbing KD and swapping them out with Cat, you want to try and keep the rest of your pieces. So I don't know if they throw anybody else in there to try and grab Kevin Durant. Whereas with Giannis, I said this and I'll say it before, I think Milwaukee will try and gut the Knicks for Giannis. However, it doesn't really matter because a lot of those players aren't three-point shooters and can't play with Giannis anyway because you need shooters around him.
I also don't think that Milwaukee can get, they're not, it's in the Knicks' court for Giannis, in my opinion, because Giannis is in the last year of his deal, and he could walk after the season and the Bucks can get nothing. Or they can get something for him now.
The thing
Which
about
could be Mikal Bridges, Cat, and a couple of picks.
And the thing about the Giannis deal is Milwaukee, in their trade demands, hold all the cards. Usually you don't. But because Giannis is not that old, and he's still putting up 25, and he will be a generational player when his career is done.
Mm-hmm.
He's still in his prime right now, and there's still more he can work on. Any team that gets him, your odds jump through the roof. And I think that's the part where
if you're the Bucks, you literally can trade Giannis and rebuild your team overnight.
Yep.
If you find the right team to do it. Because I don't think there's any player in the league, with the exception of one, that would trade their team for Giannis. They're not trading anybody on their team. The only person, in my honest opinion, that is untouchable would be Steph Curry. You would trade LeBron or Luka in a heartbeat to LA. Because you'd imagine LeBron and Giannis playing together.
What about Wemby? Would you trade Wemby? Probably not, right?
Wemby might be the other one, but you may not make that trade right away because you want to see what's going on with injuries in Wemby's blood clot.
Right.
So you will question that right now, but you're right. I misspoke. There are two players, I would say. Wemby and Giannis. Wemby and Kevin Durant. No, Wemby and Steph. I'm sorry.
and Jokic.
And Jokic to an extent, but I would entertain the argument. I love Jokic. I would not trade him, but if you're a GM, you do your due diligence, and you're getting Giannis back, and maybe some other pieces for Jokic, because I'm sure they would try and gut each other's rosters, I would look at it, but I would say no. But so I think still the only two are Curry and Wemby. Because even without Jokic, the team's not great. But if you put Giannis on that with Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon, the other pieces, there's still
That's too much.
there's still a pretty high octane team. Imagine the point. that to me would be the old Phoenix Suns on crack. The amount of points they would put up just. Yeah. And we look at Jokic as slow. Can you imagine Giannis doing the same thing? So to me, there's only two.
So I had a interesting dream the other night where we signed Malone as our coach, and we traded for Jamal Murray. I don't think that's. We traded Hart, McBride, and 2 picks.
Interesting. Okay.
Not 2 first-round picks, like a first-round swap, and then like 2 seconds for Murray, because he knows Malone. You bring in a shooter he's not an awful defender, but at that point you don't need him to defend. You just need him to score, because you keep both your wingers in Bridges and Anunoby. I don't think they're going to trade Bridges because of how much they gave away to get him, and you've paid OG crazy money, so he's hard to trade unless you're going to go get a max contract player. I don't know if we get either KD or Giannis, but if I had to pick between the two, I actually think we get KD before we get Giannis.
Yeah.
Because I think it's a more realistic trade.
And I think, again, Giannis will change their franchise by leaving. I love KD, but at this point in his career, he's not changing Phoenix by leaving. They'll suck, but they weren't winning a chip with him next year anyway.
He was the only consistent player on that team.
So
even Devin Booker wasn't consistent.
No. So
unless the Suns want to give us Devin Booker.
Very bad.
No, I'd probably rather have Durant, man.
Yeah. The only trade I see where Booker leaves also, ironically, would be to Milwaukee. But Milwaukee would have to hardcore want to hit their reset button.
Yep.
Because what you could do is you could say, look, we're going to clear the cap. We'll take Booker and Durant. We'll get rid of Giannis. We'll get rid of Dame. And we'll get rid of one other player. And we'll clear our cap. And we will just hardcore reset our cap. And then what you say is, okay, Booker, Durant,
So they just stick with Kuzma.
you're here 1 year, and then we're going to let you go where you want to go.
We got Bobby Portis, too.
Yeah. Well,
Bobby.
So that's the only thing I could think of.
Okay.
But I will say off topic, I do like where some of these trades are panning out, because some of these teams next year could be really good. I've seen 3 Durant scenarios, and all of them I love. I've seen the Denver one, which we talked about, which I thought should happen. Obviously Minnesota. And then
Spurs.
I saw the Spurs one, and then New York. I don't think New York is happening, but if it happens, I'll be personally disappointed because it's too expensive to go see games at the Garden. But
when they play Brooklyn, we can go for like $17.
we can go for $17 in Brooklyn, so I'm not gonna lie to you on that.
At the Barclays Center.
$4 in Washington, but
could be.
But that or Philly if Joel don't play, but yeah.
All right, now question 2. I don't know if you guys actually heard this in the news. We have a little bit of a wager, a bet going on. Not a bet, but a little friendly incentive. Derrick Henry was told that if he rushes for 2,000 yards this season, he will get to be in the next Adam Sandler movie. So it's a two-part question. 1, does Derrick Henry run for 2,000 yards this season? And 2, if so, do we see a sequel to The Waterboy with Derrick Henry in it? And or another longest yard?
I'm going to say no to both.
No to both.
What did he rush for last year?
Not 2,000.
But he had like 17 or 1,800.
1,800?
Some, I'll pull it up right now.
Can we pull up the
He has rushed for 2,000 yards before.
when though? How far before that?
I think it was like a couple years before COVID.
Can we pull up the before COVID?
I believe.
Oh, it was like 5 years ago.
I'll pull it up right now. 2020. He rushed for 2,026. He had 1,921 yards last year.
Last year?
Last year.
1,921 yards?
Yes, on 325 attempts, averaged 5.9 yards per carry, and had 16 rushing touchdowns.
Did we add a game this year?
It's 17 games.
This year, right?
It's been 17 for the last couple seasons.
So, will he rush for 2,000 yards this year?
Because if he does, he gets to be in a movie with... Because apparently Adam Sandler is one of his favorite actors.
I'm going to tell you this real quick. I think he's going to be in the movie either way.
Me too.
I think this is just a ploy.
Well, I thought you were talking about incentive-wise, the 2,000.
He has to get the 2,000 though.
But I'm talking the other way around. I'm answering the second part first. I think he will be in the Adam Sandler movie. I don't know if it'll be the longest yard, but I think there is a Waterboy sequel coming out already.
The Happy Gilmore one coming out.
Happy Gilmore, but I think they were talking about a Waterboy sequel. I don't know what role or how that's going to work. It's been years, but
Bobby Boucher becomes the coach.
Bobby Boucher graduated, and then he's gone. But Mama said
play.
Medulla oblongata.
No, Colonel Sanders. You're wrong.
You know what? I'm gonna say it. I can see it. I'll see him going. I didn't look at their schedule this year. I should probably look at that before I answer it. But I could see him if he got 1,921 yards last year.
And they also brought in DeAndre Hopkins to help spread the field out a little bit, open up some running lanes.
And you know what? I think Lamar will hand the ball off a little more because obviously you can't trust Mark Andrews to catch it. But so yeah, I'm gonna say he hits 2,000. Okay. Maybe not this year. You know what? No, the way they lost,
he's old.
He'll hit it. I think this will be his last year to possibly hit it. If he doesn't hit it this year, he's not hitting it at all.
I think he'll get it this year.
Yeah.
And he would also become, I believe this is an accurate stat, he would become the only running back to ever rush for 2,000 yards twice.
So you know how we said before with the Madden cover, when you see somebody on the cover, it just makes you work a little harder. That to me will be Derrick Henry. We already know how good he is and how even in his bad year, 1,900 yards, nothing to sneeze at, really good. But I think seeing Saquon, always hearing about Saquon, you're the best. That's all we're gonna hear all summer.
Him being referred to as number two.
Number two, I think this is it. I think he'll rush for the 2,000 this year, and still maybe number two, but will rush for 2,000.
All right. Okay. Question 3. This is gonna be the fun one. 2-part question again. Did Mike Tomlin try ayahuasca? And if so, will the Steelers institute darkness retreats as part of their off-season activities going forward?
Let me the short answers and I'll let Matt emphasize. No and no.
No and no.
Matt.
Okay.
I'm going to say it's a maybe for the first part and no for the second part.
Maybe no. So I'm going to say that Aaron Rodgers gets his ayahuasca from Mike Tomlin. Because Mike Tomlin is always so cool. And sometimes he's getting real bug-eyed. You notice him sometimes he'd be like this. You guys can't see my face, but picture a bug-eyed redhead. And then I think the darkness retreat begins week 1 when they lose to the Jets.
Oh, we're going to have to put a friendly wager on that. I'm going to pick the Steelers over the Jets, thank you.
As you all know, Matt is a Steelers fan, and that was just...
Justin Fields about to burn them, dog.
No.
That was just a poke at Matt's sides there.
I know, just poking the bear.
He doesn't actually believe the Jets are going to win.
No, the Jets are going to win week 1.
No,
he does believe it.
I'll put 2 beers on it now.
All right, bet.
That's a handshake.
2 garages with
Cam's
live
a witness.
I don't need to be a witness. We're recording.
I understand. But I'm saying they can't see us.
Listen,
they trust you.
All the people listening right now that are subscribed, you're going to find out who the better predictor is. That's all I'm going to say. I'm probably going to be wrong, but that's all right. All right. We have one last rapid-fire question. You can only go to one sporting event of your choice You can get front row seats, but it's the last sporting event you ever go to in your life. Which one are you picking?
Ooh.
You can pick the Super Bowl.
Oh, I
you
know
can
what I'm
pick
picking.
the Olympics.
You
You
know
can
what you're
pick the
picking?
World
I'm
Cup.
thinking you can go ahead.
Whatever you want. What are you picking?
I'm picking the Olympics.
The Olympics?
I'm picking the Olympics. You know, if I can go to one, I'm going to assume it's one race, one thing, my life, or just the whole event.
You can pick one sport.
All right, so what I would do then is I would pick track and field because if it's the last sporting event I ever did, I'd want it to be something really close to my heart. So it'd be the whole track and field series, front row, and everybody knows it because we all watch it when the 4x4 comes in, and if we're winning as the U.S., best feeling. I mean, I've been to the Penn Relays, which is national, it's a worldwide event. And all the countries come to Pennsylvania and they run, and that feeling was phenomenal. The Olympics will be a million times better than that. So that would be my euphoria moment right there.
All right, awesome, man. Matt.
I would pick either a Game 7 NHL playoff semifinal, Pittsburgh Penguins versus Washington Capitals game, or a Game 7 Pittsburgh Penguins at home in the Stanley Cup Finals against any team. That would be my
Why a semifinal game?
semifinal because there's a big rivalry between the Capitals and the Penguins,
Okay.
and just being a part of that rivalry, that would be awesome. And then Stanley Cup Finals is Stanley Cup Finals against anybody in a Game 7. I'd be down. If it was Sydney versus McDavid, I'd like to see that. But yeah.
So I'm picking the final day of the Masters because it is the greatest golf event in the world, and for some reason, every time I watch it on TV, it is epic. Excuse my coughing. It is allergy season out here, so I'll probably be coughing my ass off down there in Georgia. But oh my God, I'm dying.
Are you going to the Masters?
No,
No.
but that's my dream one.
Oh,
I would
gotcha.
love to go to the final day of the Masters, sit on the last hole, or last couple of holes, and just watch the magic happen.
And you clapping?
Oh no, they go crazy.
I know they do.
They go crazy. And I don't know, there's just something about it. It's just magical.
Mm.
So I would pick, and I always see it on TV, the green jackets, the aura of it all. I know a lot of people thought I'd pick the Super Bowl.
None of us did.
No.
Surprisingly.
You know what's funny? When you look at those kind of events, and I think when you say it's going to be your last sporting event, you want to hit something personal. For you, it was the Penguins. For me, it was track and field.
I picked something completely
You
out of
picked
left
something
field.
completely different, but it's an experience. I think that you're like the experience itself is going to be really good. So, I mean, I don't think you can go wrong with anything. To be honest, I don't think I would want the NBA Finals or the Super Bowl to be my final game.
Or my alternate one would be the World Cup final if the USA were to ever win, so that it could be called soccer for the next 4 years everywhere in the world. That'd be the only
hilarious.
other thing.
But they'd have to beat Brazil.
That's fine.
That would be great.
I
In the
saw an
final.
old
That'd be a great
ESPN
final.
magazine article that predicted that the U.S. would win the World Cup in 2030. We'll see what happens. But
We're trending that way. What's his give him his shout out. What's his name on the team? Christian Pulisic.
yeah, Pusilic, yeah, he's a beast, man. They got talent, man. They got Tim Weah,
They do.
Reem, Pusilic, how we say his name? He's a
Pulisic.
beast. All right, we got one final question. This is the trivia question of the week.
Whoop, whoop. Low key, I'm excited for Matt's announcement. Just saying.
I am too.
You're going to be blown away by it, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
In golf, what does the acronym GIR stand for? GIR. Play the Jeopardy music. Doom 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 doom.
G-I-R.
Do 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 dum bum 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 da dum bum 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 bum.
What's that pit with the sand in it called?
A bunker.
Okay, so that's not one of the acronyms I was looking for.
It does not have to do with sand.
I don't play golf, so that's why I asked that question.
Grip it firmly.
That's not GIR.
Oh.
Yeah.
GIF.
Firmly grasp it.
Oh.
If you were
Grip
to take
it right.
if you were to take a guess,
Oh God. I have no clue. I was gonna say something with probably hitting the ball in the bunker, but probably not.
No clue.
Is the G for green?
yes, it is
GIR?
GIR. Very good, Cam.
Green. You know what? I'm gonna stop while I'm ahead. I got the G. We're good.
Okay.
What does it stand for?
You know what it stands for?
No, I have no idea.
It stands for greens in regulation.
Oh.
Oh.
It is how many times you make the green before par.
Mm.
And it helps players get paid depending on how often they hit GUR. So, there's your trivia question of the day.
I like it.
Greens in regulation. That's what it stands for.
It is a great trivia question.
All
I
right.
do not play golf, so it is lost on me, but it's a great trivia question. I didn't understand it, though.
You got part of it, though.
That is impressive. That is impressive.
You just went with the color of your shirt.
No, it is green, but I mean, the only G word I know in golf is green and golf, but still, I think that
And golf.
it works.
Golf ball. I apologize for my coughing, guys. I have such bad allergies.
It was me a few weeks ago sneezing, so.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, next up is Nick's rants. I don't really have much of a rant this week.
Dun dun dun.
I actually do want to highlight another sport that I actually don't watch that often, but I had the chance to watch it. I watched the final of the Women's French Open in tennis with Aryna Sabalenka and Coco Gauff. By the way, Aryna Sabalenka's boyfriend, they showed in the crowd, he looked like a straight crypto scammer. Dude, it was hilarious. Looked like a Backstreet Boy, crypto scammer guy. Hilarious. But that's besides the point. In my opinion, and I don't watch much women's tennis, but going into this match, Sabalenka was ranked number 1 in the world. Coco Gauff ranked number 2. These are the top 2 singles women's tennis players in the world, and I think this is going to be the greatest rivalry in the history of women's tennis. I watched that match thoroughly. I don't think the score truly reflects how tense and action-packed that match was. The first set alone was epic. And that's coming from me. I don't watch tennis that often. I know Serena Williams, obviously. I know Billie Jean King. You know, Maria Sharapova. I know some players. But I was emotionally invested in Coco Gauff winning that match. Because if you watch it, you can feel Sabalenka made a ton of unforced errors and mistakes. You can feel her frustration. Why can't I put this girl away? Why? But what won the day was Gauff's composure, her focus, her resilience. She made every play she needed to make. And her opportunity came. She got the job done. It was an inspirational performance. And I think she was in the New Balance commercials and stuff. It was all the potential. The next Serena, right? The next one. This is potential realized. She is now the undisputed queen of tennis. World number 1. And now for Sabalenka, still chasing her first major. She now is on the chase to reclaim her throne. And a lot of people are already saying the next big tournament is the biggest tournament in tennis, the Wimbledon. The Wimbledon final could be the rematch. And it'll be the biggest Wimbledon final in the history of women's tennis. And I'm here for it. And I'm cheering for Coco again, baby. Anyway, I just wanted to put that out there. Not much of a rant, but I came to appreciate tennis a lot more by watching that. I watched every single point, start to finish. The crowd was amazing. The atmosphere was amazing. Kudos to those two competitors. True competitors, true grit. But Coco Gauff won the day. I don't think she's won the war. There's still going to be a lot more to this. But our girl did it. USA. USA. Go Coco. It's your birthday. Yeah. Number 1 now. You're number 1 now, girl. Enjoy it. You earned it. And I want to see you play her again in the Wimbledon. I'm excited. That's all I got to say about that. Anywho, moving on. We're going to go to Cam's Jams of the Week.
You know what? Do we have no sounds or anything like that, Matt?
I don't have Discord open here, so I can't. I gotta download and install a soundboard.
Soundboard Poppy will be back next week.
Soundboard. Oh my god, I love it.
All right, Cam, what you got for us, man?
You know what? We have the NBA finals on right now. We have your NHL finals on tomorrow night. We are gonna go with Monday.
Ooh.
Actually, we're gonna take Monday as a whole. There's some great games on. Now we have Edmonton, Florida playing tomorrow. I believe 8:00.
Yes,
I think
game 3.
Matt is double checking me. I think.
Mm-mm.
Nope, you got a text.
I was checking the Thunder Pacers score.
Oh yeah, well we can get into that after. Trust me, they were down 13. Now they're down 19. But hey, they came back from like 20 last week, so the other day. So no lead is too safe.
Nope.
But yeah, we're gonna go with the Edmonton versus Florida game. Also, college baseball, LSU, West Virginia. Watch us. We're up 1-0 right now. Almost time for the College World Series, which will be fun. Very SEC heavy this year and last year, especially after the conference realignment.
Did we miss the Little League World Series?
I don't think that's happening.
No,
yet.
I think that's during the summer.
I want to. We gotta cover that. Oh yeah, right. School's not over. It is during the summer. Yes,
It's during the summer. So
it feels hot, like it's the summertime right now.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, no. So definitely tune in. Very heavy SEC crowd. But then again, all the good schools seem now to be in the SEC. So it's what happens. And then a little WNBA action too. Caitlin Clark is not playing. Neither is Paige Buckets. But if you've not watched the Valkyrie game, go watch the new Valkyrie game. They play where the Warriors play in the Chase Center. And Caitlin Clark, no Caitlin Clark. Paige Beckers, no Paige Beckers. I can't think of the other chick's name from Chicago at this point.
Angel Reese.
Yes, her.
Your twin.
Bayou Barbie.
Not my twin. Miss free throws and layups. But that place is packed every game. And this is an expansion team. So if you want to call it the Caitlin Clark effect, go for it. But this is a fan base that has been looking for a WNBA team, and they have embraced it. Their colors and courts are pretty cool, to be honest with you. I'd buy a jersey. It's like purple, black, and gray. It's a pretty chill color scheme. But they're fun to watch. You know, it's a fun team out on the coast. Steph Curry's frequently at the games. So, I mean, definitely. One of those 3 games all tomorrow night, you'll enjoy any of them. They'll all be good. I mean, if you want to cheer for Edmonton, because that's who Nick picked to win the Stanley Cup, go for it.
Please, Connor. Please prove me right.
Prove him right. On a side note, I will say, if you're listening to this, a lot of the things that we picked over the last few weeks have come back and been true. So maybe you go back and revisit some of the old shows and see what we predicted and actually is happening. Or has the potential to happen officially in the next few weeks. And that is my Cam Jams.
Plenty of jams. Slam jam. Thank you, Cam. All right. Now, lastly, we got Baywoods Bets, because he makes us money around here. He's not only Soundboard Poppy, he's also our financier when it comes to our compulsive gambling habits.
That is true.
Matt, do you have any bets? Oh, also, I don't want to steal any more thunder.
Are you going where I think you're going with this?
No, Matt said he has a major announcement. I told you guys to tune in till the end of the show. We're at that point now. Matt, the floor is yours for your segment and your announcement.
Before you tell us this, because I'm really excited, I don't want to forget this. Nick, being that it's a bet scenario, tell everybody about the bet you made when we were watching the Pacer game at 8 minutes to go in the game.
Oh, yeah, I took the Pacers live at plus 700 at the end of the third quarter, and they won. So, Tyrese Halliburton, I hate you, but thank you, dog. You made me look so smart at Michael's Tap Room, because I had the spread. It was like 10.5 or whatever, or 10. I was like, yeah, they're going to cover that spread. And they were down like 19, whatever the hell. And I was like, yeah, they're going to cover. And then they started creeping back. Macho Man, they started creeping back with the 2s and the 3s. Right? Yeah! And I'm like, yo, they're going to win this game. And Cam's like, are you sure? And I was like, fuck it. Bet it. Man, that place went crazy when he hit that shot.
Nimhard hit the step back over
In
SGA.
Shay's face, he said,
did
"Mwah,
that
taste
cover
that."
the tab of the raise prices?
Yes,
Yes,
it
it
did.
did.
You're damn right.
Yes, it did.
Inflation who? Overrate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was great. But yeah. So, cha-ching.
So I deferred last week to Nick for the pick because I'm on a house search here.
Mm.
I'm going to triple down on the Edmonton Oilers winning the NHL Stanley Cup.
Tripling down.
Yeah.
Wow.
Why is this? What brought this up?
Well, Florida honestly is more than likely the better team. They just look like they're more well-rounded, time of possession, and so. But it's McDavid's time. It's time for him. I think that he's gonna will the team the rest of the way. First game, he had 2 assists.
Mm-hmm.
They won in overtime.
They won in overtime. Both games went to overtime.
Second game went to double overtime.
Yep.
It was 5-4, right?
Yeah. High-scoring games.
Marchand.
Very, very entertaining
Hey.
hockey.
If I know the score, you know it was a good game.
Yeah.
Because I watched it
Yeah.
out the corner of my eye while watching the other show and clips.
So.
It was on the same time as the other game, guys. I
Yeah.
couldn't put all my energy on it, but I had it on both TVs. And I had Nick next to me, so you know I knew what was going on.
So big announcement.
Here we go.
I swear to God.
Drum roll.
Do you want to guess what it is?
Is it a personal announcement or is it a sports announcement?
It's both, in the same.
Oh, crap. Okay. Does it involve your stepson?
No.
Okay.
It involves you.
Correct. And only me.
Only you.
Yes.
Does it have to do with rugby?
I was going to
No.
say the same thing.
No, it doesn't. Okay.
It's a professional sports.
Professional
Announcement.
sports announcement.
Yeah.
Oh.
You.
Does it
are
involve
try-
your job?
Huh?
Your job.
What about it?
Does it involve your job?
No.
Are you trying out for a team?
No.
Did you?
Um,
Are you
All
part
right,
of an
I'm ready
ownership
to-
are we
I'm
going to a game? Oh, I know you're going to a game.
No, I'm going to share now.
Okay,
so
let's do it.
we're getting too close.
It has something to do with my job, but not really. I'm transitioning NBA teams.
Whoa! What prompted this?
I'm glad you said NBA teams after transitioning.
Yeah. I am now...
Not that there's a problem with other transitions. Just want to make that very clear. There's no problem with that.
We're friends. We can say that.
Just in general.
am declaring
Oh.
the New York Knicks as my
Oh
team.
my
Whoa!
God!
Oh
my God! Shut it off. I got some things to say.
We've
Oh
converted
my.
one, baby.
Not we. Not we. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Is Luka going to the Knicks? Is that why?
No.
Oh,
But that would be awesome.
So you are no longer a Laker fan.
Well, let me. It was jumping back and forth between the Lakers and Mavs for a while, and it was definitely player oriented.
So you went to the Knicks with no players?
I've been to 2 Knicks games, and that was
That's
an
by
amazing
default.
atmosphere.
That's default. That's all we have around here. Well, I mean, you go to Brooklyn, so never mind. That's not right.
DC
I went first Brooklyn actually.
Wow.
I
went to
also
Brooklyn.
put on a Knicks sport coat, like a varsity coat. Those
Oh
colors
my
look fire
God.
on me.
I'm
Wow.
gonna say
He cares about his appearance so much.
might as
that
well
he's
move
got
to,
a Dawn,
I
orange
got a
and blue.
gallon jug
Orange
here.
and blue, baby.
You might as
Or
well move
blue
to
cap,
Oh my
orange
God.
Gatorade.
This is terrible. You might as well move to Danbury and be the same colors.
Yeah, I like the hat tricks too.
Go hat, go,
No, I
baby.
said move to Danbury.
Yeah, that's never happening.
Why not? Orange and blue?
So
Orange and blue skies. Oh
Yeah.
my.
Oh my God. My day's been ruined.
and to
Thank
be
God
fair,
it's almost over.
there is no team. Oddly enough, the Lakers, the Knicks, and the Orlando Magic have been my top 3 teams that I've watched.
I'd rather you watch the Actually, I do like watching the Magic. I do like Paolo Banchero,
Yeah.
Franz the Wagners.
They just always happen to be on when I turn basketball on.
Yeah, that's true. They have a lot of games.
But I've watched more Knicks games and found myself cheering for the Knicks more times than not.
There's no better game that Mike Breen calls than a Knick game at the Garden. That's a fact.
Cam is so thoroughly disappointed with this.
I really am. I'm putting him on probation. I don't know if we can be friends for much longer. Like, I have enough Knick fans, and you know what? Look, you're just going to get the ire of this will, then. That's all that's going to happen. And enjoy your off season. That's all I don't know what to say. Oh, my God. Wait till
Wait till Kevin Durant shows up.
Yeah, then you'll be.
He's going nuclear.
I am so hoping he does not go to the. I do not want to cheer for him.
We're gonna have to have a camera.
I can't, yo.
He's
Please
going
do a wellness check if Katie is sent to the Knicks. I will need a wellness check.
For real.
I will. Oh, it's the text messages I'm gonna get that day. Oh God, please don't let him go to the Knicks.
Hey God, if you're listening to this, please
no.
subscribe.
I've been a good kid.
To the Knicks.
Please do not send Kevin Durant to the Knicks.
I hope he goes to the Knicks just for Pacom.ea.
He's vetoing it.
And Tyler Kolek, you can have him too.
He's vetoing all those trades. I'm good with this, but
I'm hoping they get Jason Kidd.
Oh, that'd be so great.
The only way I want to see Kevin Durant on the Knicks is if they gut that roster. What? I'm not cheering for any of those people.
I'm gonna gut that roster.
Katie
wants to play with Cat.
I'm sorry, what? No. I can't. Thank God we're not on camera. You can't see
Wait,
so now we're gonna have. I know you wanted to bring Jamie and Tommy on the show. Now you're gonna have 4 Knicks fans versus you.
Yeah, but we're gonna be talking about.
Jamie don't really know what he's talking about half the time.
Yeah. Well, okay.
And then Tommy, Tommy can't swim.
Well, now we can't. Unless there's a pretty girl we learned.
Right.
But well, no. You know what? At the end of the day, when we do our NBA recap, yeah, I'm gonna have them here and we're gonna talk about it.
You're a one-man army now.
But by that point, we should have a better idea of what they're looking to do. True. It may have happened by then. It may not happen by then, and I'm hoping it does not happen because I do not want to see Kevin Durant in a Knicks uniform.
I do.
I don't.
And he's got first game he'll drop.
First of all, we should be boycotting the Knicks because MSG is too freaking expensive. We don't even have it on cable anymore, so now I gotta fucking pay for it.
That's fair. It's very expensive.
But
they'll bring down those prices.
If you think ticket prices are expensive now, you put KD on the Knicks, so ticket prices can go through the roof worse than they are now.
I'll be sitting.
And you know what? That's another topic we're gonna talk about down the road. Ticket prices.
Facts. Down the road.
Ticket prices to sporting events.
Down the road to Madison Square Garden, baby. Let's go. KD, it's time.
Nope, it's not. You enjoyed New York. You had a good thing. Let's move it on.
It's time, brother. Come on over.
Nope.
We will welcome you with... Oh, he is clicking his pen so hard right now.
Let me tell you, I'll give you this reason why you do not want to come back to New York, Kevin Durant. You know why? Taxes.
That's fair.
Your huge contract will be negated by the taxes.
That's fair.
Go to Texas. Go to Florida or Texas.
That's fair. He could go to Orlando, but he's not. He's gonna come.
Nah, he ain't going to Orlando.
He don't care about.
Look at you men seeing him
He
at
went
Disney
to
World.
Golden State. He went to Golden State and he went to New York.
That's true. He did play in California.
Well, he got traded to New York, but
Kevin Durant
that was to win a
went
chip.
to the and Kevin Durant did not get traded to New York.
He's about to get traded to New York.
Oh, now.
No, Google it.
I thought he went with Kyrie in free agency.
Nope, he re-signed and then got traded.
It was a sign and trade to Brooklyn.
Oh, okay.
And then Kyrie went as a free agent.
Kyrie was a free agent. KD was a sign and trade, but he got to pick where he went. So he picked to go to New York, but he was not. He did not go. He was traded there.
He would have went in free agency though.
Well, no, the Knicks didn't even offer him.
No, I'm not talking about to the Knicks. I'm talking about to the Nets.
Oh, probably.
I mean, that was a year out. Honestly, I don't know because I still believe had they won the 3rd championship, I don't think he leaves the Warriors.
No,
that's my personal opinion. But when you tore your Achilles and you sat out, which you sat out in Brooklyn, I get it. But you were sitting out a year. You're appreciative to go wherever the hell you go after that because your career could have ended. And many people did. Knicks owner didn't offer him, and then he came back and picked up literally right where he left off, which is the crazy part. Because we look at all these not NFL. I won't hate on anybody in sports, but we look at all other players coming back from these injuries, and sometimes it takes him a year or two to get back, or a few games to get back. Now, don't get me wrong, he sat out for a year and change, but
that was the year R.J. Barrett got drafted.
He came right back.
The year we didn't get Zion?
Yep.
Or Ja?
Well, I guess you do have jinxes.
Which, how would you feel about taking a flyer on Zion now?
No.
Yes.
You want that?
No. Here's my thing. A motivated good player can be a very good player.
I think Zion's comfortable in New Orleans. I think it's time for him to go.
He wants to be in New York.
If he goes elsewhere, I think you see a completely different player. I would say if Zion went to New York, you would not see the New Orleans Zion. You'd see the Duke Zion.
Oh, then I want Zion Williamson.
Yeah.
I would also like to get
But
Lauri Markkanen.
I will say this: if he goes to New York, it's not going to be Brunson's team because he's too big of person. He's going to be dunking and having the Garden go crazy. It's going to be his team.
Zion's team.
Actually, you know what? That's his redemption. He needs to leave and go somewhere and kind of reset. New York would be a great reset.
And we'd probably get him for cheap.
You could. You'd have to get rid of some players, but it'd be worth it. I think he shows up and he gives you 19 and 9 every night.
And we get KD with it? Man, that'd be crazy.
All right.
Anywho.
You know what? I lied. Call a wellness check in like 15 minutes.
We're going to do a wellness check when the
When we leave.
when the Pacers come back and win game 2, we're going to have like 3 wellness checks. No, I'm just kidding. On that note, we're going to go ahead and get this wrapped up here. We've taken a lot of y'all time. We appreciate y'all time for tuning in every week. We're on, 16 episodes now?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
16 weeks. We've been gathering together, talking the sports that we love. We love doing this every week, even though sometimes we go a little later than we want. But we know it's worthwhile because we know you guys want to listen to it. So again, we want to thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you guys like, turn on notifications, leave comments, man. We want to hear you guys. Give us some questions, things you want us to talk about. We'll talk about anything. We'll talk about ping pong. We'll talk about darts. We'll talk about NASCAR, even though we don't really watch NASCAR. But we'll turn to the left. We'll do it. We'll talk about it. If y'all want to hear it, we will put in the time.
That 356th left turn was awesome.
Yeah. Hey, when you're going 200 miles an hour, hey, I can appreciate it.
Oh, yeah,
they're
for sure.
flying.
Yeah.
So, but
it's definitely a crazier experience in person seeing that.
This is by the people, for the people. We appreciate you guys. Again, give us some comments, like, subscribe, follow us on Spotify as well. It's summertime again. You're going to be stuck in traffic. Put us on. We'll give you that good shit.
Or if you're at the beach.
If you see Tommy swimming after a pretty girl in the salt water, just know he's probably listening to the Busted Coverage podcast as well in waterproof headphones. Just kidding. Love you guys. Take care. We'll be back again next Sunday.